Hey, what's up? This is Kevin from Kevin's BBQ Joints, and I'm excited to bring you my interview with Jason Ganahl from GQue Championship BBQ in Colorado. They have two locations. They have a Westminster location as well as a new location in Lone Tree, and that new location has an ice cream restaurant, ice cream shop connected to it. They're separate but connected. We go into depth about his journey in barbecue and falling in love with barbecue and having a barbecue team and doing competitions and his success with that, and then translating that success to opening a restaurant and why he wanted to open a restaurant and his plans with the restaurant and his creating a menu and how hard it is to find a good location, all these different things, and especially in Colorado in these booming areas that he's opening up restaurants, and then how he found a second location, and then about the ice cream business, because I would, Lord knows, I would never know about opening an ice cream shop, and it's a difficult one, especially going from barbecue to having that. But it's interesting, and you get to hear his mindset as to why he's done that. His food looks phenomenal from what I've seen. I haven't visited yet, but I want to. His enthusiasm is super contagious. He also has a YouTube channel, which makes sense because of who he is, and has over 42,000 subscribers. I'll put a link in the show notes below. But I can't thank Jason enough for taking the time. I know you guys are going to really dig this. And as always, I'm excited to have the Smoke Sheet on board as a sponsor for this podcast. The Smoke Sheet is a barbecue newsletter, a weekly newsletter. Super easy to sign up. Just go to bbqnewsletter.com, and every Wednesday morning you will get the Smoke Sheet in your email box, and you'll read it cover to cover or scroll to scroll. It's such a great resource. Ryan Cooper and Sean Ludwig, who are at BBQ Tourist and at NYC BBQ, respectively, they've created this. They met in line at Snow's Barbecue in Lexington, Texas, and that's where their passion for barbecue collided, and they came up with the idea to come out with this weekly newsletter to give people information on what barbecue cooks are doing, what restaurants are popping up, which ones are closing, what's newsy related to those barbecue joints, as well as barbecue events, all the latest barbecue events that are coming up. So that way they do the work for you, and then you can just sign up for these events and book your ticket and go to them, because they're awesome and they're getting better and better. Also links to barbecue podcasts, barbecue YouTube stuff. There's tons of new stuff coming all the time, and it's hard to ferret through everything. So they do the work for us, and they have a barbecue recipe of the week, which is a good barbecue recipe of the week. And they have an archive online. So if you go to bbqnewsletter.com, not only sign up for the newsletter, but the archive is really cool. You can go back through old issues, and they have them all. They all reside there, and you get a chance to check out old recipes or events and start to put a calendar together for next year. So that way you don't miss out on anything. But again, it's bbqnewsletter.com. That's bbqnewsletter.com. The Smoke Sheet is barbecue news worth consuming. And I can't thank you guys enough for listening, for watching these videos. I have a YouTube version if you just listen to the podcast. If you go to youtube.com/Kevin's BBQ Joints, I have almost all of these in YouTube form, in video form, as well as tours of barbecue restaurants here in LA and outside of LA, as well as butcher shops and the whatnot, as well as additional content. So there's a lot of YouTube stuff. The podcast stuff has its own stuff too. I have a website at kevinsbbqjoints.com that you can go to and get links to everything too. But I appreciate, I've been getting a lot of emails lately from people giving me advice as to who to contact, who they'd like to hear from, as well as just feedback on the show, and that means a lot. So reach out, let me know, comment below in these videos, or comment on the podcast, whatever you want. But I really appreciate the feedback and look forward to having a chance to travel a lot more. And so when I'm on the road, hopefully I get a chance to meet you guys. Thanks so much. Enjoy. Well, good afternoon, Jason. It's kind of good evening-ish, almost evening for you.
Happy hour.
Happy hour. It is happy hour. I try to make it a happy hour any time of day. It's well, so how are you doing? You have a lot going on right now.
Yeah, well, actually now it's kind of a calm period for us. We opened up this restaurant in December, and it's now what is it? April, middle of April. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of calmed down. We've got our base core customers. We got a good crew, good group of employees. So now it's actually a nice kind of relaxing time for me.
And this is your second location, right?
This is our second location, correct.
Wow. And then it's tied to, like, and you're wearing an ice cream visor, so we want to get to that, because there's
the old ice cream farm visor on.
So let's get to that, but let's start how you started. Where did you grow up?
So I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. For anybody who's familiar with St. Louis, I grew up actually in the county. So there's a little small town called Rock Hill. It's got about 5,000 people in it.
Okay.
That's where I grew up.
All right. What was that like growing up there? Was it a small town or was it a bigger town?
No, I mean it's the way the county is in St. Louis. There's all these towns, but they're on top of one another, kind of like Los Angeles.
Okay. So, oh yeah,
So
gotcha.
yeah, so I mean, you wouldn't. It feels like the city, but it's not a metropolis where I live. It's the county, so it's all these little towns kind of on top of one another.
Was your family cooking barbecue, or were you doing was a culinary? Was you guys did you have restaurants, or how did the barbecue get in your blood, and how did you start your barbecue team too?
Yeah, well, my dad. I mean, I have very vivid memories as a kid. He had a Weber kettle in the backyard,
Oh,
and
okay.
he was a griller. So we grilled hot dogs, hamburgers. In St. Louis, they take pork butts and they slice them like steaks and grill them off and call them pork steaks.
Okay.
And we ate those and bratwurst. Probably those four things we ate at least once or twice a week. And I'm a big meat eater as an athlete, just big proteins. Carnivore, and barbecue sauce is a staple in St. Louis too. Put just a sweet barbecue sauce on hamburgers. I mean, one of my favorite things as a kid was just a hamburger with barbecue sauce and a slice of Kraft single cheese on it. I used to eat those
That sounds good, actually.
all the time. I mean, they're fantastic.
Was it a sweeter sauce there, or is it more savory?
Sweeter sauce,
Sweeter.
yeah. I mean, there's a real famous sauce called Malls, which as a kid we had it a lot. I don't eat it at all anymore. I think it's a little real strong. And as I get older, I veer away from barbecue sauces, and I really like just meat kind of all by itself.
Yeah,
Or if
same,
I'm
yeah.
putting something on there, I put a very little amount on there. I love just if it's burger, I just love a beef flavor, maybe a little bit of cheese, more so, and a whole bunch of ketchup and barbecue sauce. But yeah, I remember he would take Malls and Bullseye or Sweet Baby Ray's, KC Masterpiece, and just do different blends with them and different types of barbecue sauce he could get his hands on. But this was all stuff that he would get off the grocery store shelf. It's not a lot of like, Pitmaster type sauces and stuff.
But he was just grilling and then putting the sauces on there. You guys weren't doing any offset stuff or anything.
Oh, no, 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 no. It was just charcoal. I mean, lighter fluid, charcoal, big poof, and then he would, hit it again with lighter fluid
Yeah,
to make
that's
it come up.
there's something wonderful about doing that, even though it's probably not the right thing to do. But oh my gosh,
It was fun. And then one of the things I remember that I just totally think of him when I do it is Natural Light was his beer of choice. Natural Light, Bush Light. And he would just he put his thumb over like the hole on the can, just baste it as it cooks.
oh, that's so cool. That's awesome. So then, where did you go to college?
So I was actually the first one in my family to ever go to college. I went to community college in St. Louis, Merrimack,
Okay.
and I was going there to play baseball. Played baseball for maybe about a week and a half, and then actually quit. And went there for 1 year, and then transferred to University of Missouri, and went to Mizzou after that.
Wow, so that's kind of cool. There's a lot of it's so interesting because schools out here, I don't like in California. We have there's like a heritage and there's a fondness for the older. But it feels like Mizzou has like a lineage. There's a passion for that team, for those teams. It feels different to me.
Yeah, well, it's the only flagship state school in the state. So I think a lot of I guess the Midwest, and particularly, there is a lot of pride in their state school. But I think with Mizzou, it's interesting because we have two large cities in the state. We have St. Louis and then we have Kansas City. So they each have their sports teams around them that we don't have that historical generational pride in the university sports team. Now, I'm a diehard rabid college sports fan, but I don't see it like I see it in other states. Like,
Okay.
you go to Tennessee or Arkansas or, to the north, Nebraska. I mean, you got rabid fan bases that go back generations that love their state school. But in Missouri, it's more Cardinals. In Kansas City, it's more Chiefs. Royals when they're doing good. St. Louis Blues. So you have that in Missouri that some of those other, Midwestern and Southern states don't have those pro sports teams. At least that's my experience.
No, that makes sense. Like it's as it gets further across, like further east, it seems like there's a different kind of kinship for sports that is here. Like people, I find that a lot of people live in California are fans of teams outside of California.
Yeah, and same here in Colorado. So I mean, I feel like I'm the only guy in my block that loves talking sports. There's so much to do outside, and
That's
there's just a lot to do. Whereas in the Midwest and the South, you don't have all those great places to go on hikes or beaches or all those wonderful outdoor activities like we get to benefit from living in California or in Colorado.
Yeah, that's why LA has. Yeah, there are too many distractions. Way too many.
Yeah,
That's why you could be a fair weather fan, because there's always going to be something like great around the corner or something to do. So then how did you start? Were you cooking at all? Were you barbecuing at all in college?
Man, I was eating a lot in college. I was a big time eater. I love eating. I love trying all different types of food, and barbecue by far was my favorite. So I always probably ate barbecue 2 or 3 times a week in my early 20s. And I wasn't a barbecue snob at all. As long as it's cooked well and it's consistent and not over sauced or over seasoned, I enjoyed it. And I lived in St. Louis, so I would go to a place called Bandanas and eat at Bandanas 2 or 3 times a week. This was before there was Pappy's, before there was Sugar Fire, and all those really popular places.
Before Bogart's.
Now in St. Louis. Yeah, before Bogart's, all those places. So I just ate barbecue all the time.
Starting a team, did you do that because you had buddies that were doing that? Is that how you started your team? The team started, how many years ago was it?
Well, I started out as a judge. So I moved from St. Louis.
Okay.
I'm 43 years old. I lived in St. Louis till I was probably about 31. I got offered a job out in California, moved to California.
I didn't know that.
Out there. Yeah, I was out there for about a year or so. I lived in East Bay area. I worked in Pleasanton and lived in San Ramon. And I found a place in Lafayette that I used to eat at. I ate there, not as often as I ate it back in St. Louis because I was working a lot. But I still would get up there about once every 2 or 3 weeks and eat barbecue. And then I moved out here to Colorado probably about 11, 12 years ago. And while I found good barbecue, I didn't find consistently really, really good barbecue. So I went online to try to find all these different places, and I stumbled across the Kansas City Barbecue Society. It's like, oh, this sounds interesting. Professional barbecue contest. I never heard of it before. And this was before Pitmasters and all those TV shows. And I found out that they put on these professional barbecue contests, and I thought, wouldn't it be great? I can go be a judge, and I can eat, the so-called best barbecue, right? So I became a judge, and I judged for 2 or 3 years before I got into the competition side of it.
Oh, that's interesting. How was that from the judging side? I don't think I've talked to Artie Davis, but I haven't talked to anybody else that was a judge. Is it after a while, does it become monotonous, or do you find like little things that hit you and you're like, oh, okay, now it's really like throughout the process, like how are you judging for? I don't even know, like for an hour, 2 hours?
Yeah, well, it's every half hour there's an entry. So chicken comes in at 10, at 12, ribs come in at 12:30, pork comes in at 1, and then brisket comes in at 1:30. So it's 2 hours total.
But you could be trying like 50 different pieces, right? Like
you're trying 6 entries of each category. So you're putting down 2.5, 3 pounds of meat easy at each one of these things.
Wow.
And I still try to judge at least one event a year. Judging is one of my favorite things to do. I love the camaraderie. Okay. I love talking with all the other judges. I love seeing all the different entries. I like seeing how people are building their boxes. And first and foremost, I'm a barbecue just consumer. I've always loved eating barbecue. So it's fun for me to get out once a year and still try to judge a professional barbecue contest.
Interesting. So then did you meet guys throughout that process that you wanted to put a team together with?
Yeah, so just eating it all the time. I'm a naturally just competitive person. I used to play sports. I was a big-time poker player in my 20s also too. And so what I kind of liked about barbecue is kind of lighting that competitive fire again in me and getting back in and competing. And I found another just kind of hobby to do. So
were you like a poker player, like going around the country kind of poker player?
Well, the internet was really big at the time. So this was right when a little bit before Moneymaker won the World Series of Poker, and he was the first amateur to do it. And that's when it was just guys like me are like, holy crap, we could actually be good at this kind of stuff, right? So I'd have weekly games that I'd play with my friends in the neighborhood and stuff. And it's just good. It's good sitting around having drinks, ball game on in the background. And then, gambling and stuff. And gambling's a lot of fun.
No, it is. You never toured the country on this circuit?
I go to Vegas, but yeah, I never did tournaments. And most of it was time. To play you can play a cash game and that's pretty quick. But a tournament, which is what I like playing, those take a really long time. So I would go out to Vegas just to go out to Vegas and hang out. And I would try to get in a couple tournaments out there. I did win what I always like to do is I have a shirt that says I won a Binion's poker tournament.
Oh, at Binion's,
yeah. At any new neighborhood game or whatever, I always like to wear that shirt too. It's all about poker is just getting somebody to think you're going to do something
psychological,
completely different. So I can wear the shirt, and then they have to try to figure out whether or not I actually won it or I didn't, and it just instantly gets in their heads, and you can start running around in there.
The world of pork is fascinating. Sometimes I'll be flicking around and I'll get on it and I'll watch for like an hour or 2 hours, and I'm thinking it's fascinating and it's amazing too. Like it's a roll of the dice, but it's also skill.
It's kind of like barbecue. I mean, barbecue is probably like, I don't know, a contest. Maybe, I don't know, everyone has their own opinion, but it's probably 60-70% skill and then 35% luck, right? You never know like how the judges are going to be assigned and which, tables your food's going to hit, and is it going to be the ones where they like it, but you still got to turn in really good food. And with poker, you still got to get all your chips into the table when you have the best two cards. You can't control what's going to come off, on the river or at the end. So there's always that element of luck, and I'd rather be lucky than good at anything, right?
You'd rather have luck on your side for sure. So what year did you start your barbecue team? The competition?
So I think we started right around probably 2011, 2012. Okay. Like I said, I judged for 2 or 3 years, and then I dabbled in competition, and we probably did maybe 3 or 4 contests. And then I was like, okay, I'm really enjoying this. Some of my best friends that I have right now I met through barbecue contests, also through judging. And in Colorado, the most we can really do with only traveling one day to and from a contest at that time was about 13 to 15 contests. And being a competitor, I really wanted to win the Rocky Mountain Cup. And I just kind of made it a goal that I'm going to just keep doing this until I win the Rocky Mountain Cup. And so it was about 15 contests where you get that one day of travel to get to an event.
Back in your mind, were you thinking a restaurant? Was a restaurant something that you were thinking of?
Never.
What were you doing for a living?
So I'm kind of a serial entrepreneurial kind of guy, but I'm a classic sales and marketing guy. Okay. So I had a printing business that I started in my early 20s, did that for a while, and then handed that off to somebody else. And then I started out as a high school teacher, believe it or not. I wanted to be a coach and a teacher.
You seem like a coach. I could see you as a coach. No, not that. Yeah, I could see that. Like motivating kids. I had a
teacher. I remember being a freshman, and I played everything: football, basketball, baseball, and I had opportunities to play sports in college. And Mr. Hepfinger was my freshman basketball coach, and I remember he drove a Miata, and I was like, this guy is really cool. I'd love to be Mr. Hepfinger when I got older, and I just kind of set out to be just kind of a coach and teacher. And then I was a coach and teacher for 1 year, and I realized, man, I was working a lot of hours, and I didn't really know a whole lot about money or how money works or what it's like in the real world or whatever. And teachers, as all of us know, are vastly underpaid. And I'm like, wow, I have friends working half the amount of hours as I am, making twice the amount of money, and they're in sales. And I was like, man, I got to figure out this sales thing and how to do it. So I went and worked for AT&T 1 year out of teaching, and I did that for like 10 months, and then got into medical device sales and did that, and then got in with a really good company, and then I got in this high potential fast tracker program with them and got a variety of sales and marketing management positions with. It was at the time, it's Medtronic now, Covidien, Mallinckrodt, Nelcor, Puritan Bennett, a variety of different acquisitions throughout the years. But I had some really good training, really good development with them. I had a recruiting business that I did for a while in the medical device field. And then I just kind of stumbled into the restaurant. While I was doing competitions, I got to meet a lot of other really good competition cooks that had restaurants. Okay. And they would tell me about the number of people that were coming through. And I was like, wow, man, that almost seems almost too good to be true, right? And so then I just thought, well, everyone I talked to said it'd be one of the hardest things you'll ever do. I thought, perfect, let's go ahead and do it.
Nice. Wow. So then were you doing the sales and marketing job while you were opening the first restaurant, or were you like, did you just jump full force into it?
No, so at that time I had the recruiting business. So I had the recruiting business, and that was a home-based business. So I was doing that, and then just kind of doing a little bit of the restaurant stuff on the side. And it's kind of a crescendo. You got to get everything in order, and then you got to get all your branding done, and then you got to get a lease, and you got to figure it all out. And I never opened up a restaurant before, and I'll be the first one to recognize that there's way more smarter people at everything out there than I am, right? So I had just using the network, being from St. Louis, Panera Bread. I know the franchisee of that out here in Colorado. He's from St. Louis too.
Okay.
I said, hey, I'm thinking about opening a restaurant, but I know nothing about that. Can you help me with this? He's like, no, I can't, but I know the perfect guy who can.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've ever heard of Garbanzo. It's a fast casual Mediterranean place. But the founder of that, he's from out here in Denver, and we met and talked a couple times, and he offered to help in the beginning, so he helped me a little bit. And then once I got that going, just being in the barbecue world also, I mean, I could pick up the phone and call so many different guys and get tips or ask questions to or anything like that. But the barbecue piece, it's the best. The barbecue piece, I feel like I kind of had on a small scale, but doing it in a restaurant is completely different than doing it like in your backyard or even catering for buddies.
Well, so what you were thinking when you put together the menu? Did you have help planning the menu, or was that something like I have an idea for the menu? Because in Colorado doesn't have a deep tradition for barbecue. Were you pulling from your original background, or pulling from were you traveling and then you decided how did that work?
We figure it out every day as we go, right? We're tweaking it all the time. But Mike Emerson has kind of become from Pappy's. Okay. It's kind of become my mentor.
Great guy.
He's my go-to guy whenever I have a serious question or whatever. And I remember he told me he's got the best one-liner. He's just got one-liner after one-liner after one-liner. And he's like, Jason, it's really, really hard to keep it simple. Just keep it as simple as you possibly can and just do it really, really well. So that's kind of how we started out, is just keeping it as simple as possible. And then as we've kind of grown, we've added, just a different item. And we do a weekly special right now for Instagram, and also to try to get people to come in and eat barbecue more often, right? Because you can only eat. For a lot of people, especially here in Colorado, there's only so many times a month they want to eat, ribs or brisket, but they'll come in and they'll eat tacos, or they'll come in and they'll eat, a variety of different fun ways using barbecue meats.
Gotcha. That's smart. And that's probably smart. And that's good advice for anybody that's watching this or listening that wants to open a restaurant in an area that isn't hungry for barbecue every week or twice a week or something. It's important to have something that's off menu, or something that people can grab and want to get.
Definitely. I completely underestimated that, because I'm talking to these barbecue guys that have restaurants that are in traditional barbecue cities, and they're staggering the volume that they do. And I just kind of think, oh man, maybe if I can do even half of that would be really, really good. But this is not, people out here in Denver and stuff, it's not they're not consuming barbecue on massive amounts multiple times a week, and they're not all talking about it at work like they do back in Missouri and stuff.
That's interesting.
And so, nobody comes to Denver, Colorado, and types in Google best place to go get barbecue, right? But they are doing that in all these other places where I was talking to these guys and using their numbers as a framework for what we could or could not do.
Was it something like an Oklahoma Joe's, or those kind of guys, those some people that do massive volume?
Mind blowing. And it is changing though now. We opened our first restaurant over 3.5 years ago, and we're doing way more now, obviously, than we were then. But a lot of people are moving here from Texas. A lot of people still from Kansas City and from Missouri and Kansas are moving to Denver. Denver is a hot place that everybody wants to be, and they're all coming here. And a lot of them are from the Midwest, and they're bringing their barbecue appetite with them. So we are definitely, I think, more of a barbecue eating city now than we were 4.5, 5 years ago when I first started kind of exploring this.
Can you talk about where your first location was and how you chose that location?
Yeah, so I got a couple kids, and I just had to be close to the house. I chose Westminster, Colorado. I live in Superior. For those that are familiar with the Denver lay of the land, Superior is right in between Boulder and Denver, and Westminster is about 15 minutes east of. It's just north of Denver, and it's interesting because out here, it's difficult to get decent space to lease. So I actually got a spot where the landlord was like, okay, I'll actually rent you a space. Cause most of them just say no. First time restaurateur, barbecue, you're crazy. I'm not gonna rent you a spot. And I actually had a spot in Boulder, of all places, which is crazy, that I always thought I wanted to go, and it's the 29th Street Mall. And we had an opportunity to take a spot there. But the rent they wanted at the time, and this was 5 years ago, they wanted over $50. I think it was $51 a square foot. Plus, it had a $20 triple net on top of that, and it went up $1 every single year over the course of 10 years. I'm just like, there is no way we'll ever make any money doing it in that spot.
And what type of business would be successful? One that maybe like a brewery, or I don't even know.
There's a Chipotle in that strip center, and I know they're not. I know all the numbers. They shared all the numbers of all the restaurants there, and they were all very, very, very high numbers. But they're also, depending on when they came into the market, they also got favorable lease rates. Out here in Denver, every single year, lease rates are skyrocketing. And right now, it's to the point where I think if you signed a lease in the last like 2 years, I mean, you've got to be doing tremendous value or tremendous volume anywhere in order to make it work. And I mean, we've got more restaurants out here closing right now than we got opening up because the lease rates are crazy. And the people aren't ready to pay those premium like prices. Like I kind of joke around that, you know, like, oh, you need to do another one. You need to do another one. I'm like, yeah, and we'll be the home of the $15 pulled pork sandwich. And it's the struggle right now where people aren't quite ready to pay those kind of premium prices that it costs for independent restaurateurs like myself to charge to make any money. The larger brands are getting those sweetheart deals, right? Because they're not as risky for the landlords. But for guys like me, I mean, there's no breaks, there's no deals for us. Now I get developers calling me and stuff, but when I was doing the first one and stuff, nobody was calling me wanting to put a barbecue place in any of their properties.
Were you nervous when that first one opened, or were you excited, like because you have that sort of entrepreneurial craziness? Like, were you excited or were you nervous?
So we opened on a Thursday. I remember laying in bed Tuesday night, crying myself to sleep, thinking that's the worst decision I've ever made in my life. Because you hear all the voices, and everybody tells you why it's going to work, and everybody tells you why it's not going to work. So it's just a matter of which of those voices you want to listen to. And one very, very smart restaurant guy here in town told me not to go into the place that we went into because every single place that's gone in there has never done well. And it's not a great spot. I mean, it's a great area where the Westminster location is, but nobody can find us. I mean, it's tucked away. It's hidden. You can't find it unless you know exactly where it is or you're driving around for it. But that's what makes it affordable, and that's what also allows it so you can actually make money at a place. And even our second spot where we're at right now, it's a great area. But I mean, we get a call every single day. Hey, I'm here. Where are you guys at? But that's I mean, you got to find those opportunities, those good value places. And the thing is, like with barbecue, I think if barbecue's good, people will find it.
You search it out. Yeah, people do search it out.
Yeah. You don't need to have the shiniest, brightest place on the busiest corner. It's not like a fast food place or something like that. And the word of mouth, it takes a little longer because you got to let the word of mouth carry a little bit. And eventually, if you do a good job, people will find you.
Yeah, and if you're putting out good quality food all the time with passion, people will find you. And people that are watching this are the type of people that search or listening to this are the people that search out barbecue. They'll search it out in places. And I've driven by a place like 7 times, and I'm like, there is no place here that I call them. I'm like, oh, there it is. Okay, it's behind that tree. Okay, yeah. Oh, that's where it is. The lights aren't on. How come the lights aren't on? No, but so did you start your YouTube channel to get publicity or to create momentum, or was that prior to opening the restaurant?
Yeah, so I mean, I just like sharing what I know, and I just like connecting with people that share the same passion and hobbies as I do. So at the time, I mean, that's when I kind of got into competing, and I just love when I was first trying to learn a lot about barbecue, it was just when like the barbecue forums were going on. There was the old barbecue forum.
Barbecue
there
Brethren
was Barbecue Brethren. Yeah, those were the 2 spots that I would kind of go to and get all of my information. And so I just thought, hey, this would be like another good way to kind of share what I kind of know. Maybe somebody would connect with me, and maybe we can become internet buddies or whatever it is. Yeah. And then always kind of being like the serial kind of entrepreneur, I thought maybe I can try to monetize my hobby some way. At the time, I had no idea how to do it. I didn't think it would ever be like a YouTube channel like Malcolm's, where they have so many views that they can make a substantial amount of ad revenue and all of that, which we don't. I mean, I don't have any of that kind of volume on my channel at all or anything like that. But I just thought I'm just going to try a bunch of different stuff until maybe something might hit. And there was no idea of even doing the restaurant at the time. It was more just getting out there and just meeting and connecting with different people. And all those YouTube guys, not all of them, but many of those YouTube guys I'm really good friends with. Like we talk, we text, we share videos back and forth or ideas, we collaborate, we do things like that. And I really it was never like into YouTube a whole lot. It was like, okay, I can find maybe 3 months right here where I can commit to a day of the week to bang out a video or so. A lot of those guys, they're pretty consistent with putting out 1 or 2 videos a week. And I think I've got total maybe like 75 total videos and maybe about 10 or so TV appearances on my YouTube channel. But some of those guys, I mean, for them, they're very serious about it. Yeah. And they're very strategic about it. Like they analyze the algorithm. They're very smart. And they think about it. They think about it a lot.
There's smart ways to go about this. You could do it in the proper manner. And those guys, but you have a video, don't you have a video that has over 1 million views?
Yeah, I got a couple videos.
I know the chili one for sure, right?
Yeah, so the chili one, I tried to get Brent on it, and we went back and forth and all that. And I have these small windows where I can shoot. That's it. And so I had this small window of like maybe 2 weeks where I wanted to bang out like 8 videos. I was like, dang, I really want to get Brent on there. And so I didn't get him on there, but I got his picture up and we referenced Casey and all of that kind of stuff. But it's his chili recipe. And what I find interesting about that is why I think it's doing well is because it's so controversial. And all the comments, I mean, 95% of the comments are people just blasting me on that video. And I think that's why it does well in the YouTube algorithm, because YouTube likes the engagement. They don't necessarily like, the YouTube is not evaluating whether or not it's a great chili recipe. And YouTube is also not evaluating whether or not it's thumbs up or thumbs down. They just love that it's getting the engagement and that people are commenting on it. And then I try to comment back, and I actually try to just kind of, just subtly, just keep the conversation going, because YouTube rewards that engagement.
I need to be smart. I need to be smarter on that. I noticed, I'm like, a month ago, someone said, ask me a question. I should probably answer it. I try to answer all my other social media, but like YouTube is not something like when the comment comes, I love it, and I really do. And I've been trying to get back to people quicker on that, because I think that's really interesting. It's interesting when someone takes the time to comment on your YouTube video. I feel like that's a big get because to get people to do that. People don't always want it.
Absolutely. And that's kind of so ballistic. Greg, I was talking about the different guys. Do you ever have YouTube guys on your channel?
I have. Well, I just posted today Jeremy Yoder, who's a mad scientist. I just posted his video. I interviewed him like a month and a half ago, but I just posted his today. Like an hour ago, right before I interviewed him. And then I'm trying to think if I've done any other. I want to talk to more people that are YouTube people, because I find that really intriguing.
Yeah, and they're great. I mean, they're awesome. But Ballistic Barbecue, Greg Mervich, he's down in San Diego. He told me a long time ago, he's like, your channel will make it when you have more like YouTube watchers making comments on your videos than other barbecue guys making comments on your videos, because the barbecue guys all support one another by making comments on each other's videos. And when you can get more comments from just people watching it, then that's when you're kind of turning the corner a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, we got that chili video, and then I got a lobster tail video that last time I looked, that's closer to 1 million views than 0 views too. So I know those two, and the chili video I think went over 1 million views.
It's over 1 million. I looked at it today.
Awesome. So those two are definitely like my best videos.
So you make $1 a view, so you made $1 million on.
I wish it was that easy. Right?
That'd be funny. Like I made like 18 million off my YouTube. No, that's cool. The second restaurant, when you came up with the idea, like how long, when you opened your first restaurant, were you thinking this is going to be multiple? There'll be multiple locations? I
actually struggled with that a lot. So you think of like a barbecue restaurant, you think of some of those that just put out high volume, a lot of meat. They're consistent and they're very good. And you think about some barbecue places where every single bite is just extraordinary and it's delicious. And it's like, well, shoot, what kind of place do we want to be? Yeah. Do we want to be one of those places where I know if I go back there and I do the barbecuing, I know I can make every single bite like awesome. But if we try to do high volume and it's lunch and dinner and it's 7 days a week, I'm going to need other guys to do the barbecue. And maybe they do, or maybe they don't get it right every single time. So I really struggled with that kind of decision, and also letting it go to let other people.
That's the hardest thing. I remember talking to David Sandusky about that. Like he was saying how difficult it is to let other people run parts of your business. That's when you I think that's when you could succeed in what you're doing.
Yeah, and I get probably an email or a text probably at least once every 2 weeks or so. It's like, hey, I'm thinking about opening a barbecue restaurant. Do you have any like tips? And owning a barbecue restaurant, at least for me, deciding to go the 7 days a week, lunch and dinner, cooking barbecue is like the least thing I spend my time on. It really isn't. Now, I put in processes and I've done all the training and all that kind of stuff, but I'm very lucky. I mean, I've got the pit guy. I got my guys that have been with me since day one still. I've got a lot of good tenure on our staff, and the guys do a really good job. But letting go of that and giving it to someone else when you're two months in, 3 months in, that was a really kind of hard thing to do. That it sounds silly, but you're still trying to get a little bit of traction. You're still trying to just, get your brand going and get your brand out there. But your time is also needed in other places. It can't always be, on the pit.
What are you cooking on?
We got Old Hickories. Okay. So we have 5, between both stores, we have 5 ELEDXs.
Wow.
And then we have, I have a 6th one on a trailer that Alex Knight from Old Hickory that we'll borrow, although he just sold it to our mutual friend Jeff that we'll wheel in on busy weekend days.
Okay. So can you go over your menu really quick, or because I'll put links to everything.
Yeah. So we have just the standard barbecue fare. So ribs, brisket, jalapeno cheddar sausage, pork. We do turkey breasts, and then we do chicken wings. Chicken wings have kind of become like our unsuspecting kind of surprise item. We just got named best chicken wing in Denver by the Big Foodie
nice.
Magazine out here. So we're selling a ton of chicken wings, which I didn't really expect to be like a chicken wing place, but it's worked out pretty well for us. And we started this kind of wing of the moment kind of thing where we just do like a different wing. We didn't want to call it wing of the week because if we forget to make a sauce or forget to make a rub, it'll throw people off and they'll get all upset. So we just change it wherever we come up with something new, which ideally is about every week and a half or 2 weeks. And that's been fun and that's been exciting. And one of the things I want to do is feature other barbecue places or other pitmasters or other guys' rubs and sauces as our wing of the moment in our restaurant to get their brand out and let people try their stuff.
That's a great idea.
And I love collaborating with other pit guys and other barbecue guys, and we're doing a lot of that with other restaurants here in Denver, where we're just like, here, take our barbecue, put it on your pizza, and it's the GQue pizza that you can serve in your pizza place. And just stuff like that we're trying to plan a lot of that kind of stuff. There's a fried chicken place here in town that I was just talking with the guy yesterday. We're going to do a collaboration at their place later this year. So that's a really fun element.
It's fun, and I think it's great for marketing. I think it's really important because it opens the eyes to people that are just going to that restaurant that might not know about you. I think it's smart. Super smart.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
So how did the second location come about, and how stressful is that?
Well, we're up north, so we're North Denver. If you're looking at a map, you've got Denver right in the middle, and we're up north. And if I had a nickel for every time somebody said you need to open up one down south, I would never have to open up one down south, right?
Great.
So we ended up opening one down south to please all the people that would always come up and drive in. And on Saturdays, I mean, we'll get people, they drive down from Wyoming, they drive in from Nebraska, they drive up from Colorado Springs, and they tell you all the time, hey, I just drove 3-4 hours to get here. My friend told me about it. They tell me how much they like it. So we opened up one down south to appease all the people that are down south.
How far south of Denver is it?
It takes probably 45 minutes without traffic to go from the one north to the one south. And from my house, it's close to an hour without traffic to get down here. So it's quite a drive, but this is, there's a lot of people down here. And I'm in it right now to sell as much, barbecue as I possibly can. So in order to do that, we got to be where the people are.
And when you're in Colorado, you drive. When I used to go there for business, and I drive to Boulder. It seems like I drove a lot when I was in Colorado. It's just like I think that's kind of that kind of state.
Yeah, it's spread out. It's like LA. It's spread out.
But it's not like thankfully when you get out of certain places, you don't have as much traffic. I'm sure in Denver it's crazy now. Yeah, right.
Yeah, the interstates are bad. Like I time my drives, 11 o'clock, 2 o'clock, just to avoid the traffic.
Yeah. It's been too long since I've been in Colorado, so I'm sure it's going to make me sad when I visit. So now, what's the ice cream connection?
So that's a good question. Barbecue. I mean, I love eating barbecue. Who doesn't like barbecue unless you're a vegan? There's not many people that'll say, I don't like barbecue. Mm-hmm. Give me the steak or taco instead. Everybody likes barbecue, right? So ice cream, unless you're, lactose intolerant, everybody kind of likes ice cream too.
Yes.
So if you're going to start a business, make something that everybody likes, right? And so being from the Midwest, St. Louis, frozen custard is huge. A place called Ted Drew's was very influential on me. And I wanted to do frozen custard back here in Denver because at the time there was nobody doing frozen custard. So I started researching and learning about it and come to find out that frozen custard is best the same day. And as soon as you can make it, the better you can serve it, the better it tastes and stuff.
Okay.
So I thought, oh no, that's exactly what we're trying to move to, is something that's easier. Because right now we pride ourselves in being same day barbecue. So our barbecue here right now at GQue goes right from the pit to the plate to your mouth. And it requires, a lot of paying attention, and not like, we're not going to throw out meat at the end of the night, but we want to minimize, if we have bacon leftovers, how much that is. Yeah. So every single day there's a strategy involved around how much to make. And I was like, shoot, I was trying to get a simpler business and not an as difficult business, right? So I was like, this custard thing, while it tastes the best, and I think it would do great here, I'm just trying to make it simpler than what we kind of have right now. And so we went with the ice cream route. And I also thought that when you think about barbecue places, I mean, how many places you can count maybe on two hands, how many awesome, excellent barbecue places there are with multiple locations. There's several that are very good, but how many like just top of class barbecue places have more than one location, right?
Not many.
Not many at all. And so I figured I was probably going to take a dilution. GQue is the brand's going to start getting diluted a little bit because we're not going to be as great now that we're kind of spreading out between two different places. And then I needed to hedge that with something. So I thought we'd hedge it with the ice cream so that even if the barbecue wasn't like quite as good as our north location, it's still going to be very good. Oh, and we can get homemade ice cream right next door too, right? So it's a nice 1-2 punch.
That's cool.
And so that was kind of my logic behind it, but also for that same reason that having really good, excellent, I shouldn't say really good, excellent, top of class like barbecue, it's harder to scale and stuff. And I thought maybe the ice cream we can scale a little bit better and do ice cream shops in different places, but also we can also collaborate with different area chefs, different area restaurants, and we can make ice cream for them too. And so that's what I mean, birthday parties, weddings, and all that kind of stuff, like making ice cream for people, letting them come in, kind of create their different ice cream. We make it all here in house. So that's kind of the model, is that it's very just involved ice cream with the community and different people and chefs to come in and make their own and stuff.
So it's two separate locations though, next to each other.
It's two separate locations if you're on the outside looking in, but once you're inside, you can totally tell that they're combined. So there's not like a full wall separating the two of us. There's an opening for people to walk back and forth.
Okay. And so then someone could go get ice cream and bring it over to the barbecue side, and they could, vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah. And we do, I mean, you can order shakes like with your barbecue and all of that.
Do you get brisket and ice cream? Can you do that? Or
well, we did a pig candy ice cream.
Okay, that works. Hey, that makes sense.
We did that already. Not my bag. I didn't care for it. Like, I'm not the guy who likes, chocolate covered bacon. It's just the combination of sweet and savory. Favorite, no. Yeah, but people love it. I mean, I've got some employees here. They love pig candy. They think it's great, but it's just not my thing. And one thing that's interesting about the ice cream that I'm learning, I'm learning as I go and all of that. With barbecue, I think I've got a pretty good idea of like what's gonna do well with people. Combined with all the time I spent judging, with competing, and now cooking with a restaurant, I can taste it and be like, wow, that's really good. I like that, but I don't think a majority of people are going to like it. I don't think it's going to sell really good. I think I've got a good beat with that. Okay. With ice cream, I've got no freaking clue. Like, I think I know, and we test it, you talk to people, and it's all over the place. Huh. So I don't even try with ice cream. I'm like, just put it out there. Let's see how it does for 2 weeks, and it's very fascinating and interesting to see that it's very difficult to get a pulse on it, because people will like how it looks, or it might have one particular like flavor or ingredient in it that'll pull them in. And I just don't have a read at all on ice cream and what will do well. Or
I don't think I would too. That's really interesting. I never really thought about it too. And I think you're the only barbecue joint that has an ice cream parlor or an ice cream business connected. I know that there's it's like Miller's Smokehouse in Belton. They have a whole dessert section and pastries and stuff, but they don't. But it's not It's not this in the same way like with ice cream. That's really interesting. It's two separate businesses completely.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun too. I mean, ice cream is so much fun. I mean, I'm having a lot of fun. We've got a really good ice cream maker. Like I said, I don't know anything about ice cream. We hired an ice cream maker, and she is awesome. She is excellent. And I'm having a lot of fun with her, just working on the different ideas and flavors.
Same hours, right? They're both open the same hours?
We stay open an hour later on the ice cream side.
Okay.
So the barbecue will shut down. We say when it closed. So Park Meadows has mall hours, and the mall hours run until 9 o'clock. So we say, 9 o'clock or until it's gone, but we try to get, to that point, and then we'll keep the ice cream open for 45 minutes to an hour after the barbecue closes.
So for both restaurants, if you come in at, say, like like almost before closing, can you still get food? Is there still something available always?
Yeah, as long as we have food. I mean, it's just so hard to
tell.
Do
you sell out brisket a lot? Or?
I can sell out every day if I want to. I just make less of it. But it's that trying to. We try to go to 7 o'clock before we run out of anything, and then after 7 o'clock, I'm okay with items dropping. And then in a perfect world, at 8:30, like 85-90% of all of our meats are gone, and it's a really good day if we run out of everything. But what will happen ultimately is at the end of the night, people will come in and they'll see there's just turkey breast or chicken wings left, and then they usually walk out. So we don't. Very rarely.
No, I've managed a barbecue restaurant. I know what that feels like.
Oh yeah, so you get it. But very rarely do we 100% run out of meats. But that's not my objective. My objective isn't to sell out as quickly as possible.
You don't want to sell out at 1 o'clock. That's not your goal, no.
Yeah, I want to sell as much fresh same day barbecue as possible every single day and minimize the carryover, particularly with the big cuts and stuff. We don't want to serve leftover brisket or ribs or any of that stuff the next day.
Wow, that's exciting. So how is business in the second location? How has it been? Pretty busy?
Good. I thought it would be better. I'm an impatient guy, so it can always be better. You'll never hear me say I'm 100% satisfied with where we're at, because I think we can always do better. But I'm very proud of the team we've got. I'm very proud of the managers down here. I'm very proud of the staff and the consistency and how good our food is. And how good we take care of our customers down here. We've got the infrastructure. We've got the team. We have everything in place. We just got to get our word out more. Where we're at right now, the first probably month or so is people that came up north or people that follow us on social media or people that told all of their friends. And I was just talking with my manager the other day that I think 1% of all the people within a 5-mile radius know about us right now. We got to bump that up to 5 or 6%. It's just trying to get the word out and all that, which takes time. But we're doing fine. We're doing good. It's packed in here every single day. I want to get more catering. We don't really have any catering going down here right now, whereas up north we got lots of catering up there. A lot of people down here too. It's the suburbs. So people go with what they're familiar with. There's a cheesecake factory right next to us. There's a lot of other really popular brands, and they kind of look over at our sign and they're like, GQue, what is that? I don't know what that is. And they just walk right by us and go to with what they're familiar with, right? So until their buddies tell them, hey, you got to go try this new barbecue place, and they hear it from 4 or 5 different people, that's when I think we'll really get rocking and rolling down.
Let's hope this spreads the word some too. Let's hope that people from this get to know. And people are traveling to Denver all the time. I talk to people all the time, and they always say, "Where should I go? Where should I go?" And I've asked Daniel Vaughn, and you try to ask around, and there's some places that have been there for a little while, but they're never the ones that people want to go to all the time. I think it's something that you want to be on their radar, and it's important that you're on their radar.
Definitely, everything helps, Kevin. So I appreciate you doing these things. I'll go for a jog in the morning, and when I stumbled across your channel, I'll listen to the different interviews and all that. So it's been good.
That's cool.
It gets me through my morning jogs in the morning and stuff. So I really appreciate you doing this too, because it's while I haven't met a lot of these different people, I feel like I know them now from listening to their time with you for an hour.
That's my goal. I want people to at least get to know who you are, and then so that way when they come visit you, they'll have a better understanding of where you came from and what your passion is and what your core beliefs are. I think it's important. I don't know. And for me too, I'm fascinated. I've been curious about you for a long time, and I wanted to talk to you. So for me, it's like the little bit of a selfish reason, because now I know you a little bit more. Excellent. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for your time.